Hey listeners, starting Black Friday and running through Cyber Monday, $1 per pound of any coffee that we sell at catandcloud.com will be going directly into the Best Friends Club, our initiative that gives back to our producers. So this sales season, don't spend money on marginally discounted stuff that you don't need and impact someone's life by simply buying coffee. Check out the coffees on our menu and make a memorable experience for somebody else. And enjoy!
Newman ultramicroscopic silicovolcaniconiosis. Newman ultramicroscopic silicovolcaniconiosis. What a beautiful start.
Start. What are we talking
We're talking
about
about
today?
Yacht Rock. Did you see the Yacht Rock documentary trailer? Is that why you said Yacht Rock?
No, I have not even heard of it.
Why did you say Yacht Rock right now?
Because it sounded like yacht form.
Oh, okay.
And then you're rocking a jot form.
Jot form.
So the soft
Yacht
J
Rock.
on the yacht. That was a yacht.
Are you into yacht rock?
Well, my friend Rob that I skate with, we'll listen to Yacht Rock sometimes. And I
What
guess
even is yacht rock? Who's
Yacht
a band
Rock
in
is,
yacht rock?
Yacht Rock is, I mean, I
Spotify.
think the best example of Yacht Rock is probably Christopher Cross.
Well, you lost me
Sailing
already.
Takes Me Away.
Oh,
Sailing.
yeah, that's
so
yacht rock.
anything.
So
just
anything about
Not necessarily about sailing. I mean, that's just like the quintessential
All
song.
right. This says
like
Yacht
the
Rock
guy
Top
where it's
100
like-
songs. September by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I don't know if that's really yacht rock. but
Brandy
What about the
Looking
guy where it's like 5 o'clock somewhere all the time?
Jimmy Buffett?
Yeah.
I think he's just more beach casual.
Okay.
Michael
about-
McDonald could be considered yacht rock.
So like Toto, Africa. Toto
Maybe.
seems
Those
like it
will
fits.
feel
Kenny
more like-
Loggins. All right, fine. Let's
So they're
see.
doing a documentary.
That's fine.
On
Anyway,
yacht rock?
a yacht rock documentary.
Another one.
Yeah.
Let's see what Spotify puts out then. Grover Washington, Bobby Caldwell, George
yeah,
Benson.
I
don't
was
know these
looking
people.
at the
Christopher
Spotify.
Cross. Yeah, you did have that
Christopher
one.
Cross is the guy. Like he's, I think.
Poster child.
I think so.
They got MJ. They got Hall & Oates. They got Ambrosia.
MJ?
They got the
Like
Doobie
Michael
Bros.
Jackson?
Yeah, no. They got No,
That's yacht
the one.
rock.
Michael
do have
Jackson's
Michael McDonald.
Definitely not yacht rock.
George Ben. I don't. Little. They have
No,
Little
you
River
little,
Band.
like, Ride
they
Like
definitely
the
got your
Wind.
boy Little River Band.
They got Lil Wayne.
Little River Band could be yacht rock.
That's
yeah.
what it says according to Spotify. Steely Dan. They got Kenny Loggins on multiple yacht rocks, and this one's by Spotify. So I don't
Maybe
know, man.
some of his stuff could be considered yacht
I
rock.
don't know who the Pointer Sisters are. I mean, whatever. Cool, man. So
I
Yacht
thought that
rock
was a
is an
cool little
indistinguishable-
cultural connection. Well, we were going to talk about 2025 goals, goal setting, what we hope to accomplish over the next year.
Business wise. Because
What do you mean by
I
business?
well, then
Business.
last time.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
last time we had
Personal.
some personal.
Yeah, we were talking
stuff.
personal goals. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Default business wise.
I
Yes.
choose business ethics.
The business of being in business is just killing me.
Where do you start with that, brah?
Well, today we're going over to Aptos to do our inaugural GCC walkthrough. That's Guest Coffee Cafe, which is part of our attempt to figure out how to put a score to all things cafe experience, which some are simpler than others. Some are straightforward, but then one of the things we've talked about is quantifying the cultural component is very, very tricky. Admittedly, Howie said he couldn't do it. He's a liar. He just didn't want to do it.
Howie?
Howie Schultz.
Oh.
He didn't want to look in the dark mirror and see the reflection staring back at him. He just didn't want to know the truth.
But it's super
The
important.
dude couldn't handle it, but
It's important.
it is important.
Yeah. I'm like, I wasn't in that conversation, but I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this didn't ever think about that cultural stuff as much to begin
You
with.
didn't listen to our podcast,
Oh,
Joe?
come
Sure
on, dude.
didn't.
Listen to the podcast. Oh, he thought about it a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like, there's a lot of, you and Howie would get along for sure.
Oh, we get along.
You guys
I'm
are,
not saying
you guys
that.
are
Telling
boys,
stories.
dude. He's,
I just think, yeah. You wonder. I think it is challenging to do, but I don't think it's impossible.
I don't think it's
I
impossible
think
either.
there's phrasing. I think there's stuff though. But yeah, we're gonna go walk it. It's gonna be cool.
He claims, this is a quote,
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough, or I wasn't smart enough, which I think is complete BS.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think
Anyway.
that all depends on when he decided that it was important. He might have not been smart enough to figure out how big they were at the time, but he probably was smart enough to figure it out earlier, which is why I think we're smart before we get any bigger. You handle that shit.
I mean, I think we can figure
when
it
you
out.
reverse engineer something, it's gonna be a nightmare. Like when you have 1,000 people, thousands. But that's a whole different
well,
conversation.
listen to the podcast. You know, you
You can find it.
Usually I'm
It's called
trying to
Cat
get
and Cloud podcast.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get other people to subscribe and listen.
I was
Right now, I'm just like Jared. Rate and review.
Yeah.
If you leave us a review,
Really help us on
I gotta
Apple,
get
on
places where I can
iTunes.
sit and listen all day to
Tell
or
Chuck and I how we're
even
doing.
an hour.
Really.
Even an hour.
How's it going?
It's pretty
You know,
challenging right
when you're in
now.
the car.
Yeah, not often for an hour unless I'm driving somewhere out of town. That's the crazy part right now. I'm boom, bang, pow, bang, pow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
with the
pinball.
kiddos.
You mean you don't want to listen to me talk in your free time?
Hey, I'm down for all the info. I'm
That's
not
just
listening
so
to
wild.
The only podcast I've listened
5
to.
days a week with us, and then you don't want to listen
I have
to
to.
us?
No. I'm down with that. That part's good. I like listening to that stuff. I think the conversations are good, guys. Come on.
Hey, we just got to start the morning roasting, Jared.
I just if I get to listen to a podcast in the car, usually my girls are with me, and then I can't. It's like
They don't want to
then
listen
it's
to
gotta be-
Uncle
then
Baca and Uncle
they're
Jared.
not
they're
really-
like cutting that off. They're like, let me listen to music and talking over it the whole time. So
Music,
I'm like,
please.
Yep.
Music,
They're like,
please.
none of that, no mo. This is boring, dude. Only one I actually got them to listen to was a Smartless podcast with what was her face? A woman who was killing it recently. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But
Literally, it's called.
Literally,
no,
she's a
it was
murderer.
it was like it was
It's
a
It's a big
gosh.
podcast these days. Or what
It was on the way down
It's
to
true crime.
True crime.
Yeah, no way. Yeah, all the girls just listen to true crime, and it's
Yeah,
like
just
that's
nightmares.
I'm scared. Anyways,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. But yes, that's the whole different thing. We're gonna go GCC.
We're gonna go GCC.
We're
it
gonna
back.
go start deciding what are the things that need to be paid attention to most, and try to calibrate that with Herman.
Herman's gonna meet us there.
Our head
I'm
of
really
retail.
excited about
It's
this.
gonna be great.
I think this is going to be an important part of our growth.
It's one of the only ways, you guys. It's challenging for sure, but I believe in it. I'm I'm trying to figure out the girl's name. Oh, it's
Ooh.
Alicia Keys.
You hear
That's
that,
why.
Revan?
They like listening to Alicia Keys talk about creating music. It was really cool. Powerful woman.
Musical undertone.
Yeah. She's genius.
Right, because if we're thinking about the course of a year, like what we can improve in the year, there's all these different metrics. So there's one, you can chunk them. So there's like the financial viability of the business, which has to be maintained and improved upon.
Mm-hmm.
There's the cultural component of the business, which we always want to improve upon, and we could say culture and use it to quantify employee experience, guest experience, our experience. Then there's, I feel like one of the things that's easy to overlook when we're goal setting is that we still all have to do the work that has to be done in the meantime. It's not like nothing rolls off.
Yeah.
You know what I
Sure.
mean? It's like everyone has their standard job to do
Mm-hmm.
on top of whatever improvements we're going to make. So
That for me is where you look at business efficiencies. That's squarely where that fits to me is how do you improve business efficiencies across the board so that people can do the day-to-day work as effectively as possible with the least amount of work so that you can, or the least amount of brain drain, we'll say, so that we can continue to focus on bigger solutions, and one of the efficiencies even just last year was restructuring and putting, Herman at the head of retail so that there was a little more specific focus on, as simple as that. And even things like menus, you work on things that improve efficiency. So I think that fits too as part of it. Because I think business metrics, there's also multiple paths as well. There's the ones that are viable to stay in business, and there's the ones that are viable for looking at the future and providing for leaders and ourselves and our teams, and they're different tracks, in my opinion. It just depends on what goals we put on the plate.
yeah, go deeper on that.
Well, I mean, I think like business owners and the leaders in the upper portions of whatever business you sit in, like their whole job is one, first and foremost, sustain the business as is and make it profitable. And then the other part is like, if you want to provide more in the long term, there's goals that you have to set and move towards. And those come out of, the team in the front line are the hands and feet of it. They need to be able to understand how to do it greatly, but they're not in charge of creating the pathway forward, and they're not in charge of teaching everybody how. I think that's what the point of being an owner is. Owners are typically paid the most of a company, but their value is based, in my opinion, on the ability to create a way for everybody else to progress. And then wherever that stops is where that stops for everybody, in my opinion. So that's kind of where my brain thinks all the time, is like, how does all that work in that matrix? But you're right. Profitability, what? Profitability, efficiencies, cultural. What else? If we're like lumping them, what was the other one you said? Profitability, cultural, operational,
cultural. I think that was it.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's operational, right? Because when you look at like when we go walk the floor or GCC, right? I mean, part of the experience, right? Which maybe is a little bit different than cultural, but part of like what the guest experience looks like, and how do we make that the best it can be?
Yeah, I think that's like, then it's so easy to just like say, yeah, it's just 3 categories.
With like
It's just
1,000
simple, 3
subcategories under the 3
Totally.
categories.
Just simple. It's like, not saying that any of us are saying that, but it'd be easy for somebody to be like, oh, they're just claiming 3 categories. And it's like, yeah, well, totally.
Well, go as deep as you want on any of those 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pick your poison. It's like if you're talking something, it's just like ignore. If you're looking at one thing, you just immediately become aware of how intertwined every other thing is with that. You know what I mean? So it's like you couldn't take something like guest experience and improve that in any noticeable way without it tying into the employee experience, without it tying into the bones and the structure of the culture. It's like really have to have these super strong building blocks to be able to even ratchet up some of these things, you know? And I think it's really easy to take that for granted.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the everything being connected part is two-way street of being awesome and intimidating.
Yeah, so it's like if you were looking at retail for 2025, you know, what would we want to be different than 2024? Like if we got to the end of the year and we're like, yeah, dude, we did it.
Right. Well, I mean, that's where you have your breakdown of multiple channels. What you want, if you want to be authentic to who we are, and in any business who wants to live culturally, is you have to look through all of the financial goals and progressions that are the highest level, meaning like potentially idealist based and based on achieving a mission and values. And you have to look at all the operational things through those lenses. Are we doing things that make them better and progress and showcase them? Because to me, that's where we are who we are. And then there's a million, in my opinion, strategies that you could put together that say, I mean, the easiest one you can always say is, are we actively pursuing better? And that's one that you've clearly like talked about without saying specifically. Every year you want to be better, and it's like, yeah, okay, so yep. And then, you know, how is the teamwork improving? How is, you know, the artistry and all the different pieces fitting together to, and then what are the things that we can say we are inspiring connection by creating a memorable experience? And how many places can you put some form of definitions or actionables or memorables into those places? You know, it can't always be, you can't have a clear SOP for everything, but you can start building them with intention across the board. And that to me that's what you do all in the process of pursuing those big goals, which can be, you know, multifaceted, and some of which, like I said, financial, operational, cultural.
What are some specific to us if we were going to get like, let's take Cat and Cloud Retail 2025.
I mean, efficiency is a huge one in general. So we're looking at a bunch of different ways. You know, the first and foremost that's almost done is installing menus and more like information. Actually, let's just start there. Things that give the guests information and direction that do not specifically require at the beginning for a person-to-person interaction. How can the guest...
Which again, it ties into like, how can you have the best guest experience? Like when I go into a space, my best experiences are where the business is giving me all the information that I need to make a choice. Right. So it's like, we're working on putting in better menus. We're working on putting just little things like price tags. On all of the merch and things in the cafe. Right, so I feel like those are two main. Maybe there's other information as well in terms of if we have seasonal drinks or things like that. But giving me as a guest, give me all the information I need to feel comfortable, like to feel as comfortable as possible to make a decision and enjoy the space, right? It's like, I feel like when I walk into a space, I'm looking to make sure, like I'm looking to find the information I need to make a decision. And if I can't find it, that is like stressing me out on some level, and I'm not able to really enjoy the space and the experience.
Absolutely.
You're breaking down those barriers.
Yeah,
easing
so I feel like
those tensions.
that's really important for this year, is that as a guest walking into our space, that you feel like you have all the information that you need to feel comfortable to make a decision and to enjoy the space.
Absolutely. And that's where GCC is one of the potentially authenticating factors. If we do a good job with that, is then you can start teaching your team how to, I guess in some regards, like forecast and see what people need and look at the space and answer questions in a comfortable way. You have team members, right, who are the kind who can just wait for you to ask the question, or you can have the team members who will hear you in conversation and ask for what you need and notice that you're like trying to figure out what coffee you're grabbing and are looking to buy. And then the team member can be like, oh, hey, let's talk about these, and can start that engagement process and give you information to guide you. These are all potentially cultural awareness that we'd like to help teach people. And we have training systems, but we won't always know how well they're going unless you have some form of, we'll call it a reflection to see, a GCC is essentially an audit of some kind or a score sheet, and you can check it off, but you can check it off that it's not happening, and then you got to find out why. Is it not built into our training somewhere clear enough, or is it just not being trained, or et cetera, et cetera? You can kind of go down that line and find out where the bottleneck or the issue may or may not be.
Yeah, because I think of like when I walk into, say, a cafe or something, right? A cafe, inherently you're going to have a human interaction, right? So the first is like, give me all the information so I feel comfortable. And then that the team member that I'm interacting with, right, our concierge, can walk me, the guest, through that experience in the best way possible, right? And create that connection and have that connection and create that memorable experience. It's like first, cool, the information, then we're setting up our team members to walk our guests through the experience in the best way to connect and provide the best experience that we can and exceed expectations for what that person walking into the store for the first time is thinking about. Like that seems like that. How can we make that process the best it can be? And that experience, not process, but how can we make that experience
it's
the
both,
best
though,
it can
right?
be?
I mean, there's a process to teaching it and being able to identify where we're doing well or not. And then the experience that's where we live our mission. Right. How we teach it to our team and get them inspired is how we are living our mission and values as a leadership group.
Yeah. And then you talk about it all being tied in. It's like the better we do that, the more people, right? It's like, hey, you tell people, hey, I went to this amazing place. Like, you've got to check this out. It's like, that's really, again, ties into financial growth or just the growth of the business, because really when you talk about one of the goals, it's like, cool. One of the goals is like, I would love for us to connect with more people this year than we did last year, for us to engage with more people this year than we did last year, to have more people visit our cafes this year than did last year. And you do that by creating making that experience when people come into your space like the best it can be. Right? So that's where it all ties in together. And it's like, by making that experience the best it can be, that is usually the main way you're going to attract more people into your space.
Yeah, for sure. Because especially if you're a brick and mortar business, I mean, there's nothing like a recommendation. There's nothing like being so compelling, creating an experience so compelling that makes you want to, almost need to tell all your friends about it.
Yeah.
Dude, I went to Cat and Cloud. You have to go. And they maybe can't even tell you why. Well, what's the deal? It's just go, dude.
It's just how you feel.
You just have to go. Like, it's awesome. And, it's like, it's the emotion is greater than the list of things that create that emotion. And our job is to look past that and figure out, okay, what is that list of things that can create those emotions?
Yeah.
That part's really fun.
Yeah.
It is fun. And it's this weird, like, looking through a prism, because you kind of start with the emotion Like we're starting with a feeling that we want to create or an experience we want to create, and that gets broken out into almost action items that
Absolutely.
have to be tied and connected to our emotional intent, our experiential intent, and then they have to get reflected back into an emotion or a feeling for the guest. It's just this
That's
weird
the fun magic. I think.
Yeah.
I think a professional goal I want to hear. So I went to a dinner with some homies I play basketball with, and one of them was like, so it turns out I think I have to go try this breakfast burrito on the west side. And then is this guy named Dylan. And I think he either works for, his family owns Stretch Surfboards. I actually need to find out more about that, but he's definitely connected to it. And then Trevor, who's, we all know, but he's a homie. He's like, oh, it's good. And he's like, well, yeah. I mean, I was just like, they were talking to me about basketball. There's like, sitting around with like 4 or 5 of my friends, and they know the teams, and they're like, oh, who do you play for? And he's like, oh, I play for the Cat and Cloud team. And they're like, and then they stopped talking about basketball, and they're like, bro, you have to go to the west side and try the breakfast burrito. And so it hit him hard enough to be like, to ask me about it. And then, you get your confirmation because our friend Eric and JJ have had it, and they're like, oh yeah. And then Ryan Coonerty, who's used to be our mayor in town, was popped into dinner for half the time. He just literally had a drink and like an oyster or two and peaced out. But he was like, oh yeah. So they all confirm it. And Dylan was like, yeah, it's just kind of a trip. He's like, those guys were like, yeah, they're really, really nice over there. And they fully stopped talking about basketball altogether just to like tell me that I have to go try this breakfast burrito.
Love it.
And I do too, but that led me to be like, cool. So the things that I hear most about our company are guest experience, right? And second being that breakfast burrito. I think people talk about our coffee being good, but I want to hear more about like our coffee offerings from people on the back, on things like Best Friends Club, things like being blown away by the flavors, being whatever the case may be. I just think that kind of feedback speaks for itself. And so mad props for anybody who works with us and for us, because you're getting all that love consistently from people who talk to me, for sure. And you are all making great coffee, don't get me wrong, but I think there's still something to be said. The words people use are the things that they remember. So if inspiring connection by creating memorable experiences revolves around all of our things, I'm excited to start hearing people be like, holy shit, I had like one of the best coffees in my life. And I do hear that. But in proportion to that burrito, it's like that burrito seems to be life-changing. And sometimes you stumble upon something that is a little bit...
The burrito
it is elite, so don't get me wrong. Like, it stands maybe towards the top of the echelon of every breakfast burrito in the world, maybe.
I totally understand why. It's like the burrito is...
And it's a surprise.
It is a surprise because you wouldn't expect the high-end specialty coffee shop to have the best burrito in town, bar none.
Yeah.
Especially when there are places in Santa Cruz that are quote unquote famous for their burritos, like Point Market. You know?
Totally.
They're cultural institutions.
So that's the caveat to what I'm saying a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
It is above and beyond. It's a surprise. It's just so... I know it sounds like I'm tooting our own horn, but I really believe this. It's so much better than the next best option in town.
Yeah. I don't think that's I truly, like, I keep sitting there going, like, I can't believe I have this burrito at the company that, like,
I had a burrito story this weekend too. It was like I was in the thread. We were getting ready to go skate, and Rob's picking me up. I'm just like, just pick me up at the coffee shop, dude, because it's just easier for you to get to. He's all, dude, I gotta get one of these breakfast burritos I've been hearing about.
He hadn't had it yet?
I'm like, done. I got 2 burritos. I'm loading the burrito cannon right now. We're gonna make this thing happen.
Open up,
bah, bah, bah. And then, dude, they were blown away. They're from Watsonville, so they don't make it to the west side Santa Cruz very much. Way. It's just far, you know. But yeah, I think, you know, to your point, it's the burrito is, there's a bigger gap between our burrito and the next best burrito than there is between our coffee and the next best coffee.
Yeah,
and I think that's just true. Like, you know, it's
fair.
We're surrounded by a lot of really good coffee roasters, and I could see why people remark on the burrito more.
Yeah. And you're right. That whole surprise and delight situation. You come to a place and like, damn, you know. And it's sustenance. You're eating it. So, I mean, when you eat something, I think it also holds a higher value in the day-to-day, too, than like a drink.
Well, and
For me, it does, you know.
I think there's a different... Depending on who you're talking to, it's like the burrito is just such a universal thing. Whereas if you took something like a latte, you know, like a huge portion of our coffee business is essentially lattes, coffee and milk. And if you take a really good latte from 7 different coffee roasters that are high end, you're dealing with, no matter how good the espresso is,
Sure.
you're dealing with 12 ounces of milk and about 1.5 ounces of espresso. It's going to be a sweet, creamy treat.
Right.
So I'm with you.
more
I want to
challenging.
hear more of what you're talking
Yeah.
about, and it would be interesting to see what the straight espresso drinkers think, or the people who drink.
But there is so
macchiatos.
much more variability in the burrito because it's like, man, a lot of places just throw together their burritos, even ones maybe that are like known for their burrito. But it's like we're using like some of the best food, some of the best like locally sourced
bacon.
We got
food
bacon
in
from
town.
the butcher shop right across the street. That's like all sustainable meats, like pasture raised stuff.
that helps
too.
grass
So I just
fed
feel like-
everything.
Yeah, the sauce and the recipe and everything that's been created, but it's like we're also using better. I just
That's
feel
true.
like the
Better
burrito, we're
ingredients.
using better ingredients than no one is using that type of ingredients in a burrito.
Fair.
True. I
And so
respect
I feel
that.
like, I feel
Yeah.
like
Claim
that's
on that one.
a big part of it.
It's a killer claim, dude.
Yeah.
Killer claim.
The
a fair
burrito's
one.
delish.
Anyways, that's a slightly, it's a on topic, off topic in that. And we did, just to be also clear, like as we switched to the Best Friends blend, we actually did hear a lot of positive feedback about our espresso. And it was unsolicited at Portola as well, about, like after the first week, they're like, did you do something? Because it is really, really good. So
Yeah,
we
always,
we
like,
did get that too.
pursuing
I
the
get,
better
yeah.
there, yeah.
Yeah. So that is neat. So that's just one of the, that's a
And you're probably gonna
businessy metric.
hear like this is the best coffee from the smaller percentage of people who drink maybe like straight espresso.
Right.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
super nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just inherently is like a smaller group of people
Yeah.
than people that are having burritos or
Yeah.
drinking lattes, right?
Mhm.
Totally.
Absolutely.
So
Anyways, that was the sidebar on some of that retail stuff.
Yeah, I'm following though. I'll pick up the ball from you, because one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, and I know we've been talking about, is we have all these things that feel really compelling, but we're
Mhm.
not putting them out there as much as we should.
Right.
So thinking about it in the marketing context of telling stories, and telling the stories that are most deeply connected with your cultural ethos. So the Best Friends Club is the best example of that for us.
Yeah.
Where I feel like it's a undeniably good program. And now with the Best Friends blend, it's become an even bigger part of our coffee program, but it is largely a story untold. And that's on me. I could take that one. And if if you haven't heard us talk about it yet, the Best Friends Club is our initiative. Started with a handful of producers in Honduras. So every pound of Best Friends Club coffee we sell, we donate $1 back into a pot that goes back to the community where those coffees are from. And then the community decides what to do with the money. And the cool thing about that is, since it's not just directly related to the coffee that each individual farmer sells, it allows the community to have bigger power depending on the needs. So for example, Damien Chavez, who's essentially our flagship best friend, one year his wife needed a gallbladder surgery, and surgery is expensive. And Wilson, who's another Best Friends Club member in the same region, was doing, all things considered, pretty well. And said, look, I don't need a huge portion of that money. Let's just donate the money to Chana's surgery, because that's the biggest need for the community right now. Like that'll that's going to move the needle more than me getting a little bit. And I think that's really cool. So we always have a Best Friends Club coffee on the menu. You can check it out. And then we just talked about our Best Friends blend, which will always have at least 30%, correct?
25%.
25% of a Best Friends Club component. And we use that for all of our single origin espresso in our cafe. It's a really great lighter-ish brewed coffee option. That's to help us move more volume through the Best Friends Club, contribute to these initiatives a lot more. So, we talk about it here and there, but I'm with you. It needs to be a part of our cultural lexicon, where you can't talk about Cat and Cloud without the Best Friends Club coming up in some way, shape, or form. That's a cool little goal, right?
Heck yes, it is. Heck yes, it is, you guys. What else, guys? What else? BFBs, operations, flow.
For what we're gonna
2025, dog.
Oh yeah.
Ow, the year of our Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I just think since I kind of live more in the financial world, right? It's interesting to look at our company versus, all the other companies in the, all in the state and the US. It's like, it's really interesting when you look at the cost. Yeah, and I guess every business faces this, right? With the cost of different things going up. And then it's like you as a business have to maintain a certain margin between like what you sell, like the price that you're selling all of your products at, right? It should be based on, again, some kind of margin that you need to sustainably operate the business. And so it's like, for me this year, it's like and really it's been every year probably since the pandemic, and I mean even before, in California, just as the cost of labor, the cost of insurance, the cost of all these different things increases. That's why people come to California and things are more expensive, right? It's like we have to look each year at like, cool, it's not even like, I wish it was like whether or not to raise prices, but the reality is like, cool, how much are we going to raise prices by this year to maintain the margin that we need to continue to pay people more, to continue to operate the business in the way that we need to, and to cover all the costs that we face as a business. So, that'll be one of the things that we think about this year as well. Is like, what do our prices look like, and how do we, again, do our best to manage expenses, but where do we get prices at, and then what kind of growth can we see through, again, the focus on our mission, and our values, our focus on our culture, to grow the business in a way where we're able to kind of continue to outgrow the growth of our costs, which I think we've always done successfully, but it creates a pressure and a need to continue to grow because our costs are always growing, right? Absolutely. So it's like we can't stand still, because that doesn't lead to higher pay. That doesn't lead to being able to use resources on cool ideas and initiatives. Like, that doesn't lead to us being able to do new things, right? It's like the cost of doing business goes up every year, and it's like we need to, manage our prices accordingly, and to outgrow those costs, and to focus our energy on the projects and the people and the ideas that are going to help our business outgrow our costs.
What do you think it would look like if it was simply raising prices to keep up with the cost, sans any growth? Like, how much would a latte cost?
Sans any growth.
Right, because he's saying, you're talking about, cool, we need growth in terms of, let's say we didn't add any new cafes, our partner program was about the same size, web sales were just, basically stable.
Right.
I'm just thinking from the context
like for 1
of
year?
Someone who has just a small shop. Let's say you opened a shop. Right, what was the minimum wage when we opened? Was $10. $10. It's
this January, it'll be $16.50.
$16.50, and that's just one component to the thing. Everything we buy is more expensive.
Yeah,
like literally everything.
I'd say you're facing like annual 5 to 10% cost increases across the board. So again, it's like every year the price of your latte or
mirroring those
would go up 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
Which just is a lot. Like, I hate raising prices. It's like, I wish there was, I wish there were better ways to continue to maintain the business we have, and to continue to maintain the growth in pay and opportunity and the projects and the ideas we have. And it's just, that's just the Tetris and the puzzle to solve when you own a business, is what is the best way to maintain your margins and to move forward, right, in the best way possible.
It's a challenging system, because I don't know if there's is there any business in any regard where you're not trying to do that you're maybe not.
Yeah, every business
having
is
to do it
trying
no
to do
matter
that
what.
in some way.
Yeah. You have to. I don't, it's otherwise. I mean, even if you're independently working by yourself, it's like you still have to, I don't know, it'd be like being a real estate agent. You either sell a house or you don't, like, in
Yeah, I mean, the other option,
not
if,
saying
if
specifically
you,
housing market, but yeah, I'm just saying, like, is there any place where you can't live that way when you're operating a business? And I don't think you can.
Right. I mean, the other way is just that like people don't get raises, and
Sure.
you're more focused on cutting things than you are on
Right.
growing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. For the people that just maintain their like one shop or one,
Yeah,
one something.
you have to have such a remarkable cultural
Well, and you probably
presence to stay in business doing that.
That's that much harder, and you probably have more turnover. And
Well, you probably
people are paid
have,
less.
You have zero freedom.
Exactly. You're probably there all the time, and you probably have a lot of turnover and a lot of team members who never get to be where they should be.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not surrounded by experts. You're just continually surrounded by new people.
Yeah, and you're just more focused on surviving than thriving, and you're probably really stressed out. So, right, it's like, again, trying to get ahead of that for each year and doing our best to come up with the ideas and, the path forward that creates that growth to be able to move forward in like a way that we're thriving and not just trying to survive.
The topic will be thriving, not surviving in 2025.
I'm not going to say that I survived. I'm going to say that I
I
thrived.
went down to the bottom. I met a damn dolphin, and it spoke to me. Shouts out to the bridesmaids on that one, dude. Oh gosh, yeah, that's a mixed bag of shenanigans.
Yeah. Anybody looking forward to one of these things more than another? Like a project that got you feeling pretty excited, pretty juiced up? Ready to fucking roll?
I mean, I get the most juiced up when we're consistently figuring out how to make our world better, and I get juiced up when I feel like we're on a path that is aiming at successfully hitting the personal and professional goals for all of us. So, I mean, yeah, the whole package is always pretty important to me. The juice comes together when we're all figuring out how to do it and committing to it and taking it to the next level. So for me, it's always when we get together and we're like, this is how it's going to work and how we believe it's going to work. And when that all feels clear is when I feel juiced up, and even if it's like relatively clear. And until like in the in-between times, it's a little more challenging for me.
Yep.
I don't know if that's how you guys feel, but that's how I feel.
I'm excited to do some more storytelling. I'm excited for that. That's got me kind of juiced. I'm excited for these things like GCC because I really want our meetings to be more efficient, because oftentimes in the meetings, I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing right now? Where we're just like floating around. So integrating the scorecard piece of it, I think will chop off a lot of that extra, I don't want to call it banter, or we're just kind of, it feels like we're swimming through a space trying to figure out what's the most important, and everyone's talking about a lot of different things, and sometimes I can't see how it's coming together. So I think the scorecard is an important part of that, where we can look at the cafe experience or look at the web experience or look at the, social experience, look at the numbers and say,
right,
this is good, this is not good, this is good, this is good. Like this gets dropped into IDS. We don't need to have a 20-minute conversation on this little thing. It's just not as important. And then we can spend more time working on the big mover things. That feels exciting to me. So I'm just excited to see how the scorecard comes through.
Yeah, and I think that like looking back and just seeing what we were happy to see accomplished in 2024, like I think it was probably the end of 2023 or beginning of 2024 when we looked at kind of like what is the structure we need as a company going forward? What is the communication systems? What does accountability systems look like? And we kind of looked into this kind of company operating model called EOS, and we didn't. It's pretty strict in how it does things. So I think we did like our own version
about 80%
of it,
right?
We've kind of taken like our own version of that kind of operating system. But I'm really stoked on like the structure that we've created and the like consistent communication and accountability structure that we've created. And I think looking back, that's like a huge accomplishment for 2024 that'll set us up to continue to pursue better in the future. But I also think in 2025, I think we can look at even like evolving that structure a bit more to get the most out of the team that we have. And so I think that's something that I'm looking forward to as well. And as well as the scorecard, which is part of that EOS system,
Right.
which really you should have like weekly or monthly numbers when your leadership team gets together and really clear picture. And this is just why I'm like, again, I just can't believe that larger company like Starbucks wouldn't have this, but it's like that we have numbers to, or just we have data to all the different parts of our business that are important, where it is as easy as just you said of like looking through, cool, culture at Portola, how's it look? Culture at Aptos, how's it look? Culture at Swift, how's it look? Financials here. How are we on track for how we're growing here? And just be able to look through this one document, or I mean, it's not just one, it's this compilation of all these data pieces, and make it really clear of like where we're doing awesome and where, you know, there's opportunity to do better.
Right. Love it.
Yeah, I think that just makes things a lot more cleaner than, you know, 5 to 10 people sitting around being like, I think we're doing pretty good here, and I think that we need more help here. It's like, I just would love to get to like almost like a scoreboard, or a scorecard, but just like a scoreboard that just tells you.
Scoreboard would be actually sick.
That just
like legit, you know what I mean?
Just tells you how you're doing, and then you're like, cool. It's really clear what we need to attack. It's really really clear who we need to celebrate because they're fucking crushing it, and it just makes our job a lot cleaner and clearer for everyone, or just everyone can have like much clearer expectations for what we need to be working on and prioritizing it, and where we're winning and where we can celebrate people.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I would love that. Incorporating some sort of visual element to the meetings, like an actual scoreboard. I think it would be really cool, like a big old screen with all of our quarterly projects and all of the rolling scores for every department. Just being there, I think would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I was thinking about that for Best Friends Club. It'd be kind of cool to have some version on the website or even on our socials of, you know, when people are raising money for a thing, they got the little thermometer and to see how much. It's like year to date, how much Best Friends Club money we've raised so far, just to kind of see what have people get some feedback for the thing that they're participating with. You know, that they're part of this bigger community that's doing something good. Like, it feels good. It's like, look at what we're doing.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. Anyway, we should pack it up for today. We're gonna head across town.
And run it.
Do some GCC. Thanks everybody for listening. Oh yeah, we got a request. Carmen Conchala, what are the deets?
Yeah, we've worked with Carmen. So Carmen is she and her husband live in like southwest of Colombia in the Nariño region. She's a really amazing producer. Like Dulce and I have been to visit her. Dulce actually visited her just last week. So I think that's where the prompt comes from. We've got her coffee on our menu right now. It's tasting really, really clean, really fruity. And we've worked with her for 3 or 4 years now. So we're thinking about like, could this be a process where someone like Carmen joins the Best Friends Club in the future? But yeah, it's on the menu right now. Check it out. I think
washed.
Yeah, it's washed coffee. I think everybody's gonna enjoy it.
We could put this in after. All right, we got a new coffee on the menu from Colombia. Chuck's gonna riff on it right now. Boom, and then just cut to Chuck. And it's a fucking wrap. Link in bio.
Hey everyone, that's the podcast for the week. Thanks so much for listening. If you heard something that inspired you, let us know, or tell a friend. These are the types of connections that are the most important to us and that we seek to create every day. If there's something you heard and you want to know more about, send us an email to podcast@catandcloud.com or head to our website, catandcloud.com/podcast, and let us know. While you're on our site, check out everything we have to offer. Dive deep into one of our single origin coffees or pick up a little treat for yourself. We have something for everyone, so check it out. Also, find us in the usual places: YouTube, Instagram. We're always there sharing amazing things. All right, that's it. Thanks everyone for being awesome. We'll be back next week.